Well, and we stopped with this slide about condition B, symptoms and signs. Okay. And so we speak about these two conditions, A and B. Here we can see the pictures that illustrate
Stomachache.
Runny nose and abdomen pain. Stomach pain.
Running nose.
Cold.
Nose.
Cold and cough.
So we're speaking about symptoms, and what is the disease itself?
Running nose. First one is
Or it can be what?
symptom.
No, I mean
Sign.
diagnosis.
Can be COVID.
Cold.
So one, the diagnosis for condition A. It can be what?
Runny nose. Runny nose. Symptom.
Can it be flu?
Blocked nose. Blocked nose.
Can it be
It's
flu, for example? Yes, a cold, right? Yes.
yes, ma'am.
And condition B.
Crampy abdominal pain.
So what kind of disease it can be? Yes, Manish knows.
Abdominal tenderness or crampy abdominal pain.
Gastritis, for example, right? Okay. Well, and here we should make a list of the signs and symptoms that you would expect to see in a patient with pneumonia. Can you think of any signs and symptoms?
Symptoms like cold,
Yeah.
chills,
And bluish.
cough,
Nails and
wheezing, difficulty in breathing.
Okay.
nails become blue colored, ma'am.
Chest pain.
Yes, blue.
Okay.
Difficulty in breathing.
Breathing. Lungs are filled with
Fluid. Yeah.
fluid.
What about
Cough with phlegm.
cough? Okay.
Maybe fever.
Fever, yes, increased.
Temperature.
Wheezing.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, and so this is about signs and symptoms. And if we move to the next slide, there is information about using the non-technical language. I mean that sometimes the doctors use the terms which are too complicated to a patient. And now, when you speak to patients, you need to use non-technical language that the patient understands. Let us look at two example questions from the case history. And the question is, which verb means precipitate and which means start? Let us listen to Rina. The first sentence, the first question.
When do the attacks come on?
Come on. What does it mean? Precipitate or start?
Start.
So this is the phrase that should be used with in the conversation with a patient. Vidya, the second sentence, please. Is Vidya here? No.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, number 2, read it, please.
Are you aware of anything that triggers the attacks?
So instead of triggers, what should we read? Should we use? This is one more option. This is precipitates the attacks. Yes. Okay. So you should keep in mind the difference in the use of specific technical language and the conversational words. And here there is a task to replace the technical words which are given in italics with non-technical words which are given in the list to the right of the screen. And you may also have to change the form of the word. Okay, so let us start with Manish, please.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one.
We are going to have to perform a few tests.
Okay. So which word should we use instead of perform, which is like very specific technical
To
word?
do. We are going. We need to replace it with to do.
To do a few tests. Okay. Rohita.
She
Rohita.
is suffering from very bad bout of flu.
Mhm. Instead of suffering, what should we use? Who can help us?
Have.
Mhm. Have got a very bad bout of flu. Okay. Now, please, Bhuvanesh. Number 3.
Yes, it might be a good idea to refrain from fatty foods for a while.
Mhm.
Avoid.
Yes, instead of refrain, we need to use avoid to avoid fatty foods. Then, Suhita.
He is susceptible to many minor illnesses. He is prone to many minor illnesses.
Great, exactly. Then, Afnan.
You said the cough is intermittent.
Mhm. So, intermittent.
Intermittent.
Instead of this. Sorry? What do you say? Who can help us?
They're
They're
all
all the They're all the
All the
time.
time. They're all the time.
Yes, not all the time. Intermittent has another meaning. For example,
To come and go.
Come and go.
so
Come and go.
you said the cough comes and goes. Yes. So this is like S at the end. Okay. Then let's listen to Khadija.
Yes, ma'am.
So the next sentence.
Your cough is persistent. It means there all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, then Mosharafuddin. Are you here? No. Minus. Well, Mayuka.
Yes, ma'am. It's difficult to adhere to any kind of life change. Stick to.
Stick to any kind of life change. Okay. The next is for Rina.
You won't have to be hospitalized.
Admit.
Sorry?
Admit.
You won't have to be admitted.
To be admitted. Yes. Mhm. And Rayapati Sai
Yes, ma'am.
Bhargavi.
You're
Sai.
scheduled to see the nurse in the allergy clinic next Tuesday. Booked to the next Tuesday.
Yes, you are booked to the next Tuesday. Okay. Sai is your first name, right?
No, ma'am. Sai Bhargavi.
Bhargavi. Sai Bhargavi is your first name.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I call you Sai Bhargavi?
Bhargavi is enough, ma'am.
Bhargavi is enough. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I see now. Well, good. So keep in mind just using some simple words. And now let us look here. So we should use the phrases which are given below to make questions with non-technical words and role play a conversation between a patient with a flu or a cough and doctor. So we should use such, the doctor should use such phrases as when, is there, do you, does it, did you, have you ever, are you, is it, and so on. And there are some examples of such questions. Are you prone to, are you booked to see, do you find it difficult to stick to medication? Does your cough come and go? Have you ever had, I mean, you can use the phrases that we've used in these sentences in the previous task. So one of you should be a patient and the other should be a doctor. Who would like to role play this kind of conversation? Who would like to speak about this? No answer. Well, Vidya, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Lahari?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Vidya, who would you like to be, a patient or a doctor?
Anything, ma'am.
A doctor, yes, and Lahari, you are a patient. So please start it, asking questions. It should be connected with flu. Yes, doctor, please.
When
When what? Who can help us with the first question about when?
When did the flu start?
Or
something like that.
Yes, the patient. Lahari?
It's from the last week.
is there any symptoms?
Is there what you mean? I mean, not any, you should say something because this is only one.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any changes during last week to now?
No, it's constant.
Okay.
Okay.
What else can we ask?
Do you find, do you have, do you face any difficulties in medication like allergies or anything?
No.
Okay.
Did you?
For example, this question about have you ever?
Have you ever faced this type of situation before?
No, this is the first time.
Well, who can help us with the other questions?
Are you allergic to any other things like dust or something like that?
Yeah.
Is it persistent?
Instead of persistent, what should we use? Does it come and
Does it come and go?
Does it show any recovery? Does it has any recovery?
Patient. Okay. Okay, thank you. So just a minute, I need to answer. No, I don't need to do it. Заплати, наличными заплати, всё. Okay. Well, let's move on.
Listening 3.
And so we have some listening task. Okay, just a minute. Да, я туда закину. Вот. Oh, hello. So now we were speaking about the conversation between Mr. Bloomfield and Dr. Dixon, and now we are going to listen to the last part of the conversation, where Doctor, when he asked some questions about the general history. So, and we should make notes, we should write questions that he asked about appetite, bowels, waterworks, and sleeping, okay? So, and you'll tell me about if you hear or not.
Listening 3. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you smoke?
Do you hear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good.
Listening 3. Okay. Do you smoke?
No,
You drink?
just socially. Maybe a couple of beers a week, nothing more than that.
Is your appetite okay?
Yes, I never seem to have any problems on that score.
Bowels okay?
Yes,
Waterworks okay?
yes,
Sleeping okay?
yes,
General health okay otherwise?
yes.
I think we'd better have a look at you. Could you just pop behind the screen and...
So, what are the questions here?
Do you smoke? First question is correct.
I mean
Do you
about
drink?
appetite.
Is your appetite
Is the
okay?
appetite okay?
Bowels.
Bowels okay?
Yes.
Bowels okay?
Bowels okay.
Just mhm.
Waterworks
Waterwork.
okay and sleeping okay.
Is sleeping
Is it
okay?
sleeping okay?
So in this situation, when doctor asks the questions which have similar structure, he omits some words in the questions because the form of the question is clear from the context. Okay,
Listening 3.
and here we need to expand short questions. So the example is given here. You been off work at all? And we should add the whole form of the verb grammar form because the phrase should be, have you been off work at all? So we can read all these sentences. Let us listen to Mayuka, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
You eating well? Have you been eating well?
Okay.
Is your appetite okay? Have you been sleeping? Maybe are you sleeping okay?
Mhm.
Are you passing water a lot?
Okay.
Are your periods okay? Do you had any? Did you had any diarrhea? Have you lost any weight? Have you been living there long?
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Yes. We can use past simple or present perfect continuous about the conditions that the actions that led to these conditions. Okay, good. And well, now we are going to speak about some social problems, so which doctors also have to deal with. So we are going to read some information, and first we need to focus on these pictures on the slide, and we should decide which social problems these pictures show. So any ideas? What can you see in the pictures?
I think first is shelterless.
Sleeplessness.
Homelessness, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, homeless.
Well, in picture B, where are the people?
Poverty.
Poverty, or so lack of what do they experience? Space, accommodation, lack of accommodation. Yes, because they're too crowded in one room. Well, picture C. What is happening here? Do you see? What is the
Smoking.
Smoking in presence of minors.
Even in the presence of children.
Yes.
And so which is dangerous. And what about last picture?
Eating junk.
Overeating.
Obesity.
Obesity.
Yes. Okay. Well, and now let us move to the next slide here. Before we start reading, there are some words that can help us to understand the text better. So there is a phrase, the word deprivation, which means poverty. Then factors equals causes, incidence, occurrence, plateau. Plateau here in this context means a level of something. And then pronounced means said, evident. And social classes 1 and 2. In the classification of the population for research purposes, the 2 highest social classes. So just highest social classes. And if we move on, here we have the first extract from the text and from the article. Let us read it and let us listen to Suhita. No, she is absent.
No, ma'am, I'm
You are here, Suhita. Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Read it, please.
Social factors in general practice. Social deprivation is associated with death from all causes. The most pronounced effect is with circulatory and other smoking-related diseases. A similar trend is seen with infant mortality, morbidity from chronic illness, particularly musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, and respiratory conditions, and teenage pregnancy.
Is everything clear here in this part? I mean, like mortality. What does it mean?
Death rate.
And morbidity.
Problem or disability.
Or disease. Yes, right. Okay. Well, let us move to the next piece of information, and this is for Afnan. Afnan, hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Will you read this part, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is not a new problem, nor one unique to the UK. It may partly be due to smoking and eating habits, but this disparity was in evidence 80 years ago when those of social classes 1 and 2 were more likely to smoke, eat food high in saturated fats, and take less exercises. And disparity in health is closely related to income. In the UK, an increase in proportion of the population is now living on less than 50% of average income than 20 years ago, the mortality gap has grown proportionally.
Mhm. Okay, great. So, can you comment on the meaning of the word saturated fats? What does it mean, saturated fats? What kind of fats are saturated?
With the single bond.
And
Carbon.
partly digestible food.
Single bond.
Anyway, they are not
Long
good for health.
hydrocarbons.
Yes, unhealthy. Mhm. Well, what about income here? What's the meaning of income?
Earning.
Mhm. Money that people get.
Money.
Earn. Yes.
Less income.
Okay. Mhm. Good. And if we move to the next slide, this is for Khadija. Read it, please. Khadija, are you with us? No, Khadija. Okay. Musharafuddin, absent. Mayuka, please.
Yes, ma'am. This has an impact on general practice. There is a higher incidence of illness, requirement for primary care team, services and the use of out of hours and A&E services among deprived communities.
Mhm. And these arrows that just point up. So this is increased requirement
Increase.
and the increased use of out of hours. And here, this horizontal arrow, how can we read it? So
Going on.
high incident of
Going on increasing.
going. I think it lead. Yes,
Which leads to
to
increase in
increased.
requirement for the primary care.
Yes. Okay. Well, and these letters A and D.
Accident and emergency.
Emergency. Okay. Well, good. And so one more part is for Rina. Are you here? Yes, Rina, please.
Yes, ma'am. Other factors which have an effect are hormonlessness, sleeping rough, employment on unemployment, divorce, and immigration status. The adverse effect of living in temporary accommodation are well documented. For example, adults have a increased incidence of depression than population of similar social standing in their own homes.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so and so more Bhargavi.
Yes, ma'am. Children are less likely to receive their immunization, more likely to have childhood accidents, and have higher incidence of minor and diarrheal diseases. Among those sleeping rough, poor diet, poor accommodation, and lack of access to medical services are universal problems. A study in 1986 in London found 1/3 are psychotic, a quarter have severe physical problems, and 2/3 have no contact whatsoever with medical services. Evidence shows that if services are provided, homeless people will use them.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so universal problems. Well, and yes, we have some more information. This is for Vidya.
Yes, ma'am. The effects of work have been compared to effects of victims. We need a certain amount to be healthy. Then there is a plateau where extra doesn't work and too much is harmful.
Very interesting. So work compared to vitamins. Well, okay. And so there are several questions. Let us answer the questions which are given here on this slide. Lahari. Lahari?
Yes, ma'am.
You are here. So the first question, please.
What main social factors are given?
Do you remember the social factors?
Smoking, accommodation,
Okay.
accommodation,
Homelessness.
homeless, smoking, and
Overeating.
overeating.
Uh-huh. Okay, just the pictures that were given at the beginning, yes? Well,
Yes,
so the next question, Manish, will you answer it, please?
Can you give your own reasons why those in social classes 1 and 2 were more likely to smoke 80 years ago?
So if we speak about social class 1, for example, this is the social class with the highest income. Why?
Highest income, they would like to enjoy the more comfort, and like they try to spend on the unnecessary things.
Yes.
And about the class too, like to get through the stress which they had all the day, they might smoke. Even though they were not having enough money to eat, they would like to spend on that to just get rid of the like stress.
Yes, and they could afford this, yes?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And the next is for Rohita.
Yes, ma'am. What reasons could you give for the increased incidence of depression in those living in temporary accommodation?
Okay. So if they live, if there are people living in temporary accommodation, why do they live in temporary houses? What happened to them?
As the income is low, so they couldn't afford to buy a permanent house or
a good accommodation is very.
Do they belong to the place where they live now, or have they moved from another place?
Another place,
maybe they have moved from.
They are migrants, yeah, migration.
Yes, ma'am.
That is why there is no. So there are problems with the job, with the future, with housing, houses, and so on. Okay, and this causes depression. And the last question is for Bhuvanesh.
Why is poor diet a problem among those sleeping rough? And it will be caused due to
People sleeping rough are people who are homeless.
Homeless.
Yes.
What's the problem with their diet? Why?
Couldn't afford protein rich or vitamin rich diet.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't have any cooking facilities, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So they have to survive, and they even don't think about their diet. Okay. So this is what I plan to do with you during this class, and now we are coming to the home task. You see that we continue, we go on working with English for healthcare on
Yeah, ma'am.
online course on the future.com platform, and we should complete week 3. We should complete through week 3, and you